Welcome back to EW Morning Live. Dalton and Jessica here with you on Entertainment Weekly Radio. Really excited about our next guest because he has just been lighting it up on The Good Wife this season. So good, playing investigator Jason Krause on Sundays on CBS. And you're going to see him soon in a very explosive role on The Walking Dead as Negan sometime in 2016. Please welcome Jeffrey Dean Morgan to the show. What's going on, man?
Hey, man. Thank you for having me, guys.
It's great. It's great to have you here. I mean, we've been talking about you a lot recently on the show because we've both been Good Wife fans from the very beginning, and we love it. And it's always, as a show gets into season 7 now. Yeah. It's like, how do you freshen it up? How do you add something new? And your character has just been such a joy to watch in his relationship with working with Alicia Florrick.
It's a fun role. He's there, I think, to shake it up a little bit. I'm still filming, and we're on, I think, episode 12 right now. I'm not sure where we are in the TV world. I think 7 or 8 just aired, so I'm a little bit ahead. But it's a fun role to play, and we're starting to figure out a little bit more who this Jason Krause character is, and going to work every day with Juliana and Christine Baranski. I mean, it's a great cast. So as far as a job goes, it's been a good one.
Yeah, you get to work with all of them. Like Jason's he's like, I'm freelance. I'm working for La Cardagos. I'm working for...
He doesn't like signing things, so he gets to go work for everybody. Yeah, it's been cool. So I spent the day yesterday with Miss Baranski, and she is phenomenal. So yeah, getting to kind of float around a little bit has been great.
Did you watch the show before you got cast? So you had to did they give you homework of okay, here's what you need to do? No, here are the dynamics.
No, I had never seen the show, and I've been friends with Juliana for years. But I had never seen the show just because I'm pretty busy, and there's very few shows that I watch. And when I do, I generally watch an entire series in a weekend via Netflix or DVR or whatever it is. But Good Wife is a show that I'd never seen. Obviously, I know about it because it's a good show, and I can read occasionally, and I know that people talk about it. But the main reason, or one of my deciding factors, was really my mother, who was a huge, huge fan of the show. And I was doing Extant over the summer, and so I was in LA, and the Kings called, and they said they had this role on The Good Wife, and I got the first call I made was to my mom, kind of saying, what can you tell me about the show, and why do you like it so much? And my mom is not totally TV savvy, and yet she had this great explanation of why she loved the show, and kind of the fleshing out of characters, and the most dynamic female characters, strongest that she'd ever seen. And I just thought, wow, I was so impressed kind of with her answer, that after I talked to the Kings, who I think were in Italy when they called, and into a bottle of wine or two, and their selling of the show and the role was pretty good. I just thought, to work with that cast, I think, and that's how I've kind of based my career recently, is who I get to work with, actor-wise and director-wise, and you just want to work with as many good people as you can, and I thought, what a great opportunity.
Does your mom want Jason to sleep with Alicia?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, she does. I don't know if she wants to see me do that, but she would like Alicia to get some action.
Off screen.
Yeah, she doesn't want to see her son involved in any of that hanky-panky, but I think she would like Alicia to be happy.
What I love about you and your character is that he's always has this really weird sly smile on his face. He's always like he's sort of thinking,
he's hiding something.
Like he's telling himself a joke every time he talks. It's odd, but it's really charismatic and interesting as well.
Well, thank you. I didn't know, and I think they're trying to still figure out this character, honestly, and so I kind of took my own cue as far as kind of that approach, because I didn't frankly know a whole lot about Jason Krause to begin with, certainly, and I'm still finding out new stuff as they're I think what they're doing is they're kind of writing as we go, and they see something on the screen, and they'll be like, or when they're editing an episode, and they'll say, well, I like what Jeff did there. And so suddenly that kind of weird knowing smile is turned into a little bit of a trademark. And I always kind of played it like I knew a little bit more than maybe you think I did, or more than Juliana does in the course of a scene. And that's sort of where that began. And now it's sort of taken on a life of its own. I think Jason's a smart guy, and he's a step ahead of most things.
Yeah, well, I feel like the last thing we saw was he's somehow investigating Alicia, and we don't know why.
Yeah. But I want to say that was a pretty innocuous deal. I think he really did. I think when he told Eli that he just wants to get some background on the person he's going to work for, I don't know that necessarily that was him being lying. I don't think he's lying there. He really wanted to know who he was going to work for.
Oh, really? Because I feel like everything with him is so mysterious.
Well, and that's
you
the deal.
never quite know, like, if it's part of some bigger picture.
And it could be, and it very well could be. But I can't be too spoilerish here. But here, suffice it to say, we'll come right back full circle. Sparks are still flying, and there is something going to happen, and the audience just needs to have a little bit of patience.
Thank God.
There's going to be payoff.
How much do Robert and Michelle King, the series creators, how much do they tell you in terms of a big outline, or you just kind of going script to script? How does that work?
Really, usually I know a lot more going in. Not a lot. Initially, what I was told was, he's going to be an investigator. This was their pitch. He's going to be the new investigator. He was a lawyer who beat the crap out of a judge. So we've already seen all of that. That's played out. I think that there's going to be more to that story. But that was their initial pitch. That was kind of all they had. And unlike, usually I'll sit down with the creators of the show and really kind of get the broad strokes outline of where and how and the whys of a character. But in this case, I'm not sure that they knew. And if they did, they didn't tell me. So initially, I think that I took this role really after talking to my mom, and then I still was waffling about because I was in the middle of, at the end of shooting, actually, Extant, and was pretty friggin' tired. And this was going to start like the day I finished Extant. And I was still like, I don't know if I can go and do, 22 episodes of another show. And I don't know a whole lot about this character. But then I got a lovely email from Juliana. And I think, that was sort of what put it over the top. And I was like, yeah, let's just jump in with both feet and we'll find out as we go. And that's sort of been it. Like I said, I find out something new sort of every week when I get the script. I think that they are incorporating things, and they may know exactly where this character is going to end. They're just not telling me. Which is okay. I don't mind that. I use that's the kind of thing that used to bother me when I was a young actor, but now I find it kind of interesting, and I get to sort of do what I can with one script at a time.
Yeah. The only bad thing about you being on The Good Wife was when we read the news that you were going to be Negan on Walking Dead, and I was like, there goes Jason Krause.
Jason Krause. Well, we'll see how that turns out.
It's going to be hard, dude. Walking Dead films in Atlanta, goes back in production in April. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be fucking hard.
Well, we'll have to see if Good Wife is even back.
Well, that's the thing. We don't know that there's going to be an episode or a season 8 on The Good Wife and how that's going to work out and where this character is going to end. So, that being said, we'll see what happens. There's a way that I can still appear every now and again on The Good Wife, but April.
We'll
I'll
see
be in
April.
Atlanta.
That's right.
That's right.
We're talking with Jeffrey Dean Morgan, so great on The Good Wife Sundays on CBS, and as we're mentioning, has been cast as Negan on The Walking Dead, who, as readers of the comic book know, is the most crazy, psychotic villain we've ever seen. How familiar were you with this guy when you got cast in the role?
I like your psychotic laugh, by the way. You're clearly well cast.
I'm really fucking excited. I was familiar. I watched the show, one, but two, I've always had a foot in the comic book world. I mean, I grew up with my uncle's comic books at my grandma's house, so I've always loved my comic book reading. And then that kind of took on a whole new level when I did The Watchmen.
Right.
And so I go to Comic-Con every year, generally with some project of some sort. And so a couple years ago, people started saying, "Hey, man, you should be Negan in The Walking Dead." And so I started reading the comic books just because I'm a fan, and I love what Kirkman's doing. And so I was very aware of Negan and had read quite a bit of the comic books, and so my agent and manager were on the phone, and they said, The Walking Dead has offered you this thing, but they didn't have any information. They didn't know the character's name. It was all a big secret, and they sort of like got halfway through the sentence, like, we don't know the character's name. He's the new big bad. And I knew immediately who they were talking about.
Like he has a bat.
He didn't even say that. Oh, but Lucille. Oh, God, what a beauty. They just got like halfway through and I knew immediately who it was. And there was no question. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. We're going to fucking do it. And that was it. And literally a week later, I was in Atlanta talking with the cast and hanging out and spending some time.
It's amazing you brought up Watchmen, because I thought, like, well, I've kind of seen shades of Negan in the comedian. There are some similarities there, right?
Yeah. There is. Yeah, no, I'm sitting here smiling right now, which is hard for you to see as a radio listener. There's definitely some similarities. Negan is special in a lot of ways, and the more kind of digging I do into Negan, the more excited I get. I can't tell you the last time I've been kind of this giddy about doing a role. I think what's there in the comic books and the graphic novels, this foundation of this man and the kind of complexities of who he is. Every time I look at the graphic novel, which in the last, few weeks, I next to my bedside, I've got just stacks of Walking Dead stuff. And so when I'm not memorizing my Good Wife lines and trying to figure that out, I'll just grab one of these things and look at it, and I will read and reread and see something different every time. And kind of the excitement level of bringing this guy to life it's at such a peak right now that I don't know how I'm going to survive to April.
How different in your conversations when you went down to Atlanta to talk to Scott and the rest of them? How close to the comic are they going to keep the character?
The character itself is going to be as close as humanly possible. I mean, obviously,
the language is an issue.
Language is look, it's a speed bump. I'm not going to say it's an issue because they're working on it. We're going to push AMC. I think the plan is to push them as far as they can because it's sort of. It's who Negan is. He says he uses some colorful language, and I use some colorful language, and in reading the comics, and it's important. So we'll see where that lands, but it's our intention that this character is going to leap off the pages of the comic book. It's very important that that's who it is. That I think some of the characters. There's much more leeway, but Negan is a guy that you want to keep as true as possible, and that would be how I'd want to play him as well.
They did do one scene where they filmed two ways. Andrew Lincoln had a line as Rick Grimes where he finished season where they filmed it one way for AMC and another for the Blu-ray, adding in the F-bomb. So there could be a situation there. I'm sure a lot of people want to know if you've had a chance to meet actor Stephen Yeun yet.
I met everybody. I got a chance to say hello to everybody down there. That being said, I don't know what's going to happen, man.
Have you seen your Lucille yet?
I have.
And?
She is gorgeous.
He says it
gorgeous.
just like Negan, dude.
God damn
just
it.
like Negan.
She is a beautiful
Dalton and I
girl.
are cowering in the corner right now, by the way.
You practice your swing? You practice your swing a little bit?
I don't need to practice my swing.
So how many
I grew up with a bat in my hands.
how many episodes will we see you in?
She's not going to tell you that.
Come on, give him a chance to
No.
turn me down.
Yeah, I'm going to turn you down. I'm just going to turn you down. We'll see. I mean, I don't know what next year is going to bring. I know that I need to be in Atlanta in April, and I will be there, and I will be ready for whatever is to come.
How does your mom feel about this role?
I got to tell you, she was not as happy as I was. She's not, she doesn't watch The Walking Dead, so she was more upset that there's a possibility that I might not be on The Good Wife. So, when this all came down, it was very important that I sort of kept some options open as far as what could happen next year. And, we've already gone over the fact I don't know where The Good Wife lands and if they're back or anything else. But, if they are back, I'd like Jason to hang out a little bit longer. So, yeah, needless to say, Mom was, and I think, when the word came out that I was doing the role, I was on a plane. The whole idea was to keep it a secret. Nobody was supposed to know that I was going to do The Walking Dead. And that was, Scott and I had talked and like, no. And he had said, man, the show, everything kind of gets leaked out. And I'm like, no, it's gonna be a secret. And I got on a plane actually to go down and say hi to everybody in Atlanta. I had a couple days off here, and by the time I landed, I had like.
Here's something.